when you think about trading, you can make any sort of case for any sort of setup. But the best trades typically don't take a lot of effort or a lot of reps. So yeah, criteria is a big one. Honestly, a lot of trading is really just controlling actions. I could try and force setups all month, literally versus today, just come in and make way more than that without trying. When you see your type of setup, you have to swing hard because I've missed it enough times to be like, oh, actually, when it's at the level, it's going to do the thing more often than not. You can be stubborn or wrong. You can't be both. You cannot be stubborn and wrong. It does not work. You can only be stubborn if you're right. Last year, I made more while knowing less. So it's not knowledge that's going to close the gap to where you want to get. It's really just the application of it.
Christian, it's good to have you back on the show, buddy. Part 2. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Happy birthday too. Filming on the birthday, giving us the time on the birthday. How old are you today?
27.
Oh, dude, nice. All right, cool. So 27. Where was I at 27? I was still living in Florida. I feel like 26, 27, I just moved to Florida. 25, 26. Yeah. All right, nice. How do you feel going into 20, like your last 3 years as a 20-year-old?
Oh man, it's crazy. It's like time flies. Honestly, I look back and it's like I don't even know how fast it goes. They always say as you get older, it goes quicker, and it's like, yeah, for sure.
It's true. It's true. I wanted to have Christian back on the show, everybody, because I felt like with some stuff going on in the news, kind of like in our drama space in the Twitterverse of futures trading, I felt like ICT has come up a lot. There's been like a lot of people like talking shit, I feel like, to ICT, right, Christian? Like then trying to sell their own thing. Have you seen this?
Yeah. People love doing that. They know how to get clicks. Everyone wants to badmouth this guy, and I mean, rightfully so. Like he makes it easy. But I mean, listen to some of the stuff. You'll have good points, but like if you're an easy target and you get attention for saying someone's name, a lot of people will do that type of thing. That's just like their prerogative. So, but I mean, a lot of the concepts worked really well, and we'll get into some of what I've been still to this day sticking with, and then kind of go from there.
Okay. I want to definitely deep dive it. Let me ask you this though. How many people out of all the people that talk about like I'll teach you how to trade this and then they regurgitate some type of ICT terminology, how many out of the people trading or teaching it, how many think actually can trade it well? I'm curious. You're taking payouts, like you've already shown that it works, but not many people are in that bucket. I just feel like I see way more people talking about it than I see people taking payouts about it. What do you think? Am I wrong?
The people who do really well with it don't trade all that often. So there's this whole thing where if they're making a lot of money on one trade, it's like, okay, well, how do they get that capital? And a lot of times you'll see influencers, they monetize the audience and then they use that capital to then trade. And you're like, what came first? Would you get to that level if you didn't have the audience? And that's like a big thing that I see, but it works well when you don't trade a ton, really. Like, honestly, a lot of these, I only use one candle, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, that stuff's fine. Like the setups work. It's just when you try to force that on every single day, you're just going to struggle.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, hell, the biggest trade I've taken in the last, first 5-figure day in a while, like was pretty much yesterday/today. I traded a daily setup. It's not like ICT or anything. It was just a break of an inside day bar. You see right here on NQ, we broke above the prior day high, and then we just ran all night. And I just managed it on like a 5-minute trailing system. I made 8,000 on one top step account, and then 1,800 on my top one account, and then 600 on another top one account. So that's not ICT. Does that mean it's wrong? I used VWAP. I used a daily candle. It's it. It's just a pattern, but it works. So I think the best traders they'll be very fluid with how they approach price because things are going to be repeatable. Things are going to give you an edge. And like, if you can see a setup or an opportunity, your job is to act on it, not identify with a certain belief system about trading when it's like, who cares, man? If it works, it works, but the people out there, because it goes both ways. People go, ICT is everything. It's amazing. It's flawless. And then you have people that are like, ICT doesn't work. And it's like, if you understand statistical analysis of anything, really anything can work. You just have to be able to study that it has a repeatable nature to it. But that's why it confuses me because I'm like, I thought you guys are supposed to be smart when you're saying, oh, ICT is bad. And it's like, you don't know how to just, I don't know, look at 100 trades and see if it works or not. But yeah, that's kind
How
of
do you
besides the point.
how do you decipher between when to use decipher the algo?
Yeah.
Oh. How do you decipher between when to use the ICT stuff you have versus when to take trades like last night that are more VWAP?
Yeah.
What's the difference maker? Hey traders, I want to take a second to thank our sponsors. First, Top One Futures. If you use the code ASFX, that's going to save you over 50% on any account type with Top One. They are currently offering the cheapest instant funded account in the game. So if you want to get funded without having to jump through some crazy hoops or pass some crazy challenge, the instant funded accounts with Top One Futures are exactly where you need to go. For $290, you can get a 50K instant funded account that gives you $2,000 of drawdown with the potential to take a $2,500 payout on your first payout. So you're flipping $290 into a $2,500 payout if you can follow the rules and hit the $3,000 profit target. Now, they have larger accounts and smaller accounts. Head to their website, like I said, with the link in the description, and you can check out all the information about Top One Futures. Having paid out already 14 million, almost 15 million to traders, they are the one-stop shop that you need to get funded, stay funded, and get consistently paid out. TradeZella is the second sponsor for today's episode. Use the code ASFX to save 20% on their journaling software. If you're looking for a one-stop shop for backtesting, journaling, and tracking your trades, TradeZella is it. They will provide you with the Zella insights and the reports that show you exactly what you're doing well and what you need to work on. You can tag your entries, you can tag your setups. Everything you do can be tracked in TradeZella, now using their progress tracker. So use the code ASFX, click the link in the description, and now let's get back to the podcast.
I think trading, you're going to do your best. And the way you kind of really choose when to use what is it has to be something simple. Like if you're trying to force the idea where it's like, oh, I could potentially see this ICT, breaker or whatever, you're just going to get run over because you're trying to force your will. And I'll speak to just my personal experience, mainly through July, just terrible for me. It was a terrible month because I was doing exactly what I'm talking about. I'm like, well, it has to mean revert back to shut up, dude. You don't know what you're doing. Look, it's a trend. Get your moving average and just go with it. So, taking a kind of a step back, I'm able to see like, yeah, it's pretty clear that when a market is strong, don't try to fade it. We all know that, but when we try to get smarter and be like, well, I could technically trade down to, let's just say, this level right here from one of these daily candles, looking for the break of it. It's like, it's just not going to happen. There's no moving average alignment. Like, it doesn't matter if you know ICT, if your fundamentals are crooked. We could literally just take a moving average stack right here. You see it's all above. So it's like for the broader trend here, you do not really want to be shorting all that much. It's few and far between. You can find shorts, but generally if you're above all the moving averages and they're all stacked, why would you? So that's a big time where you don't want to be forcing ICT entries. The best time to do it is literally like qualifying the setups you already trade like yourself, honestly. Like Austin, if you're trading a VWAP, like a pull, like maybe a break and retest. I think you might call that like a mid-range trade where it's like it trades
Exactly.
from one end to midpoint.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
More often than not, there's going to be some sort of higher low that forms there potentially, and there might be a fair value gap. Something like that with context works well. But as far
Sure.
as like, you'll have people do this kind of thing. So I'm trading basically, yeah, it's basically right here at this candle, this 6 p.m. candle, and I'm trading back up to this high up here. People might see a fair value gap in between, and they might think that this is somehow going to be a bearish level. And they're like, oh, I need to short this. I held through the thing. I held through this. I got stopped
Mm-hmm.
out basically right here at
And
868.
you're saying that comes from you leaning into a long bias based on
Mhm.
market conditions and where we are fundamentally and just on the chart too.
Absolutely. And also just like the daily candle, like if the daily candle is
Mm.
really that strong, and we could pull it up one more time real quick, you see you have a long wick. It pulled back to an area. Like this is a previous structure point for me. Whether someone wants to see it as that or not, it's like go down to a lower time frame. You'll see there's some interactions here. It comes
Mhm.
back into here. Someone might call that an order block. Maybe you look at the fair value gap below it. To me, it's just an area where it's retesting. It closes almost above the previous open. It's bullish. This is a really, really easy setup. And that's like the best way to trade. Focus on the easy setups because I can tell you, I could try and force setups all month and then, literally versus today, just come in and make way more than that without trying.
I I had Chris Cady on my podcast, like the old school. I don't know
Mm,
if you know him. He's like a pit trader back in the day. He's still a
awesome.
trader.
Yeah.
He said, he was like, if it ain't easy, I don't want it.
Yep.
So that's kind of like what you're saying. Now, just to, before we keep going, because you're giving a lot of good information, I just feel like we should go back to the idea of like the bullish market condition that we're in
Yeah.
not favoring shorts.
Yeah.
Would you say that applies to short-term trading? Like 1 minute traders, 5 minute traders, people that are listening to this thinking, maybe I should just lean into longs right now. Is that the direction you're going? Or are you saying, no, still take shorts, but maybe manage them more aggressively, be more
Yeah.
defensive in those
Yeah.
positions? What's the advice to the trader who maybe doesn't want to just be long only? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's two really good points there when you say, essentially what you're getting at is like, do you take easier targets? Yeah, you should absolutely, because especially for ICT traders, we always want it to run below the previous low. It A lot of times it just won't, and I can't even tell you how many times I've been up quite a bit in July and then had it reverse on me, and then you get into this. Trading isn't necessarily about what you know, it's about what you do with it. And if you're not in the right framework, and I could just speak to, literally the period I was going through, moving into a new place, not having really anything. We had to fix a lot of stuff here, electrical, plumbing, the AC. So it was just stressful. I didn't realize how stressful it was for me. So I'm over here trying to do something that, like, in my mind, I'm like, this is a way to like balance out that kind of stress. And I don't see that. I'm just like literally just losing the plot. Fast forward to now, it's like, okay, that's a completely different approach. So your experience of what you're going through can really kind of color your perspective. I do believe if you have the time to kind of pull back, you can recognize that these market conditions aren't favoring shorts. You should really, really, really take an easy approach with these things. I just think people get too caught up in trying to force an outcome, and it's not going to happen. I honestly, anybody watching this, ask your significant other, should you try to buy or sell during this time? Just like, be like, what do you think you should do? It's pretty
But
clearly
it's
going to
so
go up.
easy to be bearish, you know what I mean? That's the
Yeah.
problem. It's like, especially on Twitter, I feel like everything is so negative and cynical,
Yeah.
so it becomes super easy to be like, "Well, we could be at a double top, we could be at a top, we could see interest rates do this to the market," but yet all we see is the market always continues to grind higher, which, like, this whole point we're talking about here is when to favor VWAP over ICT. It's like, well, in a trending market, maybe VWAP's a little easier. Not necessarily that
Yeah.
ICT stuff doesn't work in a trending market, but what's it easy? Like we just said, if it ain't easy, I don't want it, right? Is that kind of a
Absolutely.
good way to sum up what we're saying?
Absolutely. It really needs to be
Okay.
super obvious, super easy. And sentiment, honestly, by far and large, it's better to kind of fade sentiment, because I can tell you, I remember specifically when the sentiment was the worst on Ethereum not too long ago.
Can you define sentiment real quick, just for the
Just
audience?
the overall consensus of people's opinions on price. Like, what do
Like
they
the
think?
mainstream.
Yeah, honestly, not even I'd say, like, yeah, you have media, sure, but I'd say like Twitter as well, or X. It's
Okay.
when I
Okay.
see everybody just hating on Ethereum, like right here. I'm not joking. It was literally during this March, April. I saved the or bookmark them. I guess I bookmarked the tweets, and now look at it. I was buying this. I'm like,
Yeah.
if I just listen to people, what do you want me to do? Sell it all down here? It's like, no. It's like it's done
Right.
very well. So yeah, I mean, we're up. It's quite a bit up.
150%.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not too
Yeah.
bad. I would say it's pretty
No,
decent for that.
definitely not.
S-
Yeah. So what does that make as like as a day trader and as an investor, when you see situations like that, does that make you go like, oh man, I guess it is easy to be cynical because like everybody's
mhm.
always usually wrong. You know what I mean? The masses are always
Yeah,
wrong. Is that
there's a I love this phenomena because especially even in April for the index, I remember seeing some of the biggest traders that are just super pessimistic, and it's not that they're bad traders. It's just that I can see that they're biased because they want this to go to zero, and I'm like, I will
of course?
happily fade you, and I that's the one. So my trading short term on all props for pretty much since I've moved in like April has just been bad. It's just not been good. My long term stuff's been
Mm.
absolutely tremendous. My crypto's been absolutely tremendous. So it balances out. But I will say it's very easy to see why that kind of thing happened. You lose structure. That's like really what it was for me, just not having structure and how I'm approaching my days. Um, but yeah, you literally just adjust from there. So sentiment's a huge thing. Really, just knowing when to, like, not everyone's going to be right. Honestly, not everyone's going to be right. So if I like to look at this thing too, where you ever see like a big 15-minute candle, it's just a giant tall wick, and you're like, oh, obviously this is bearish, and it doesn't go down, and it just immediately goes up. I call those like
Yeah.
FU candles, or like FU moves, because it's like everyone's like, obviously it has to. And it's like, no, it doesn't. It doesn't, because the context isn't aligning with that. It just happened to be how it closed. So yeah,
I'll
sentiment's
tell you,
big. Go ahead.
Brian Shannon said, The market will always do the most obvious thing in the least obvious way.
Yeah.
What's the most obvious thing? It goes higher. How it does that is the least obvious, right?
Yep. And some markets are
Yep.
very, very, very hard to time. Specifically, leveraged crypto is very hard to time. Spot crypto is
I can
very
imagine.
easy. Because they will just
Why?
do
What's the
things.
difference?
Well, leverage because you can have very, very high leverage ratios where maybe you can only tolerate a small move out of your out of your favor.
Sure. And then the drawdown because it's leveraged drawdown would be too much,
Yep,
right?
and they kind of do this thing where they try to push it far enough where it's going to just shake you out. Like that type of thing happens all the time where it almost like bottom ticks you because it's just looking at like well, however the market's working, right? They have some sort of idea of like where like those pain points are and like where weak
Mhm,
positioning is, and they'll dig
mhm.
into it just enough to get you out, and then it'll go because then you'll
Hmm.
chase it, and then it's already winning. So
Where are you trading that at?
you could try. There's a couple different exchanges. So I've used
Okay.
Blowfin in the past. I've just
Oh, I've heard
stuff
of
like
them.
that. Yeah, that's one of the more
Okay.
prominent ones I would say. Um, yeah,
How much of your day are you spending trading crypto versus trading futures?
well during April was I would say I put a good amount of time into crypto. Lately, it's just I'm just holding stuff at this point. I'm not trading
Okay.
too much. I'm trying
What
to
do you think
do
we're doing here? Like, because Bitcoin's pulled back a little bit over the last couple of days. Do
yeah
you think but what's your cycle timeline? That sounds like a question you should ask
right
a girl when she's on her
yeah
period. Yeah. What's
seriously
your
yeah
cycle timeline?
yeah. And you look at all the different coins, see if you get them to sync up. But something like crypto, when it shakes out, when it shakes
That's
out near
funny,
the
bro.
highs, I mean.
That was funny.
When you have something shake out near the highs, personally, I think it's kind of just getting rid of late trades. So something like Solana is a pretty good example where it's up at 260 and pulls back to 200. People are like, "Oh, it's over." I'm like, "What do you mean? That's like
Mm,
nothing. That's
right.
like nothing.
Right.
What you buy up here or something? Like
What's all-time highs on Solana?
297. Yeah, like right here
Okay.
with Trump. That was a Trump
Yeah.
meme coin. So I do think this is
Yeah.
poised for all time highs. So is it Bitcoin or Solana or Ethereum? I do think Bitcoin's holding. There's going to be some rotation into altcoins in some regard. Why does this stuff matter? People might be asking. Well, tech is what I trade. I trade Nasdaq, and tech is correlated with crypto, whether we like it or not.
Yep. Yep.
They're intertwined. So these markets,
I mean, have you seen like everyone, even I think pull up Twitter today, Jim Cramer tweets buy crypto
oh
with a picture of a headline about inflation.
yeah,
So like even now, like the mainstream I think consensus is becoming if you want to fight inflation, crypto is now becoming more and more acceptable as a hedge against inflation. Let me ask you another question, kind of derail us from
yeah,
ICT
let's
for
do
a
it.
second. We can go back if we need to. What do you think of gold and silver all-time highs,
Yeah,
right? They say that the metals never lie, right? So
yeah.
what does it mean when those metals are high to you? Does that impact your bias at all? Like, is I guess to tie it even into what we were previously talking about, is it
Mhm.
easier to buy into a bearish bias? Because right, you think the commodities going higher is usually a sign of economic weakness, right, in the stock market, but
Yeah.
that's not what we're seeing in pricing yet. So it could be easier when you see commodities moving like that to think I should be bearish right now, but maybe not. So I'm curious your thoughts.
It's very strange for there to be a direct correlation between the index and gold. It's normally opposite. It's normally one
Right.
goes up, one goes down. So when they're both going up, it does poise a lot of it really puts us in an interesting position because you have the dollar just weakening since 2020, losing 50% of its value. It gets real tricky because yeah, the economy itself isn't healthy. The market is up, but the underlying components of the market aren't necessarily terribly strong. You have Apple that's all right. Amazon's kind of holding in that range. And it's mainly a few stocks that are really creating that appreciation in the market. So to me, it doesn't feel super stable. I've thinned out a good amount of my positions from April of my long-term stuff. I don't want to get stuck, especially, coming into the third quarter, like end of the year. This is really where we can tend to see like seasonally a weaker time for the market. It's interesting though, because honestly, I know everyone says it, but I do feel like these times are a bit unprecedented because we have so much stuff going on and then just to pair that in with the actual devaluation of our currency. It kind of shocks me sometimes when I look at like how expensive things are, where I'm like, wait, what? I
Oh
don't know.
yeah.
I wonder how people pay for stuff. Like, I honestly do.
Well, what does it like the devalued currency only divides the rich from the poor more, because rich
Yeah,
people can
yeah.
still afford what they need to do, whatever they want. Yeah,
It
prices are going up, but their income is going up. It's like the wage growth of the middle class and lower class isn't growing enough. You know what I'm
exactly,
saying? To keep
exactly.
up with it. It makes me feel like they're gonna have to do universal basic income.
Yeah, I
Not to
think,
derail us
yeah,
even
no,
more on a
I
day
think
trading show,
everyone's
but it's like
saying that though. That's a big thing. It's
it
probably going to
seems like
happen.
that could happen.
Yeah, because if
You know,
you're,
here, another future thought. Sorry,
no,
another
you're good.
future thought. What do you think about an AI recession? People getting fired from their jobs and then tech pulls back because of people and a weaker labor market. But why would that hurt the stock price? Wouldn't the stock price be like lighter fluid if we could fire a bunch of people and replace them with robots?
I
Like, wouldn't that do
mean,
good for the company's profit margins?
yeah,
Am
from
I
like a
wrong?
purely like utilitarian standpoint, but then there's just when you have a lot of rapid job loss, I don't think it's going to be offset with like, oh, here's a perfect one-to-one payment for your universal basic income. So that leads
And
to
then
a
what does
lot
that
of
person do? You know what I mean? Too.
exactly
Like,
probably drugs, probably like it's what they're not going to have purpose. They're not going to have any goal. Yeah, I do think it's pretty sketchy. I do what people should be doing though is learning how to leverage AI to do something with what they want. Like I don't say,
yeah,
yeah, use ChatGPT to write a paper for you, but no, like I've used it to learn how to use Premiere and use all these different softwares and make music.
for sure.
I've learned
Make
stuff.
yourself more valuable.
Yeah, I've learned skills that would have taken me probably because I used to just learn stuff from Google. I would teach myself stuff all the time. Now I'm over
Right.
here learning,
YouTube.
hey, how do I do this on Ableton? How do I make this, and it teaches you, learn in 20 minutes. So people need to be doing that. Otherwise, yeah, what you're talking about, it's not that it's possible, it's inevitable. Things will get more efficient. Things will get outsourced because, if they're pulling back H1Bs and all this stuff, people are going to get creative about how they're hiring and where's the value coming from? I don't know. It's a
Absolutely.
pretty interesting time for the broader market in that regard.
And I feel like in a way, AI plays into everyone's short-term gratification,
Yeah,
like want it now, give me the answer now. I don't want to do the work, right? But like you said, it's inevitable, right? Like even if you think about like a kid in school right now, what are you teaching this kid in school that AI isn't going to do better? Just I give me
exactly,
one thing. You
exactly.
know,
Yeah, that,
the only thing I can think of is teach him to be a good person. That's the only
yeah,
thing I feel like AI may not be as equipped to do as a human. You know, that might be the only thing we have left is teach each other how to be good. But other than that, I feel like it is inevitable, like you said, that AI does a lot. And what does that mean for the value of these equities, right? And then now to bring this full
yeah,
circle, is that already priced in? That's
yeah.
always the question.
Right.
Is it already priced in? You know what I'm saying? Like, or is it becoming priced in? That has to be being discussed if we're discussing it. Like when you look at the valuation of Tesla and Nvidia, Taiwan
Mm,
Semiconductor, you look at these
yeah,
companies of the future, how much of this is already priced into what they're talking about their forward guidance of 2030 and 2035 and 2040. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. It really does beg the question. It's like where do we see a sort of stabilization in prices if these things are already understood as what's going to happen? And like, by the way, we just know about all this AI stuff now. It's not like they haven't
Right.
been using AI for 15
Oh my God.
years. Are you kidding me?
Right.
It's like,
Right.
what benefit do I have to believe that anything we see on TV is real at all? It could all be AI. I don't
Yeah.
know. Like,
Dude, and you know it's funny to think about too, like even the cryptocurrency use of the government. Like cryptocurrency itself has been around. The idea of digital
yes,
currency has been around for a long time.
yeah,
So the government's had a long time to think about what happens when the dollar gets devalued. So you'd hope they'd have a good plan here to try to fight us. But when you look at the fundamentals, it doesn't look like we're trying to pay off the debt. Yes, we're raising
yeah,
record revenues from tariffs, but it doesn't necessarily also mean we're cutting spending, right? That was what Elon said when he quit. He was like, the government's unfixable, you know? So that's
yeah.
super disheartening to hear from a guy that knows how to fix things
Yeah,
for
dude,
sure.
dude came in and said, "I'm gonna fix this thing, make it all efficient." It's like the part of the problem is the machine does feed on debt. Whether it's
Yeah.
people talk about earnings and all this stuff with the market, but it's like at the end of the day, do these sales really mean anything when Apple's selling all these phones? If they've said themselves, they're like, we don't care to sell phones. We want to like essentially finance them. It's like, okay, cool. You're generating transactions, but like what's actually going down? It's just people are
And then
passing the,
underlying, Apple is the biggest buyback of their own shares. So yeah,
yeah.
we're selling iPhones, but we're just buying back our own stock to keep it up, to keep it
Yep.
afloat. Maybe
So it's
it's
like
definitely interesting.
maybe you're generating transactions, but really it's just passing on debt through like Klarna and all this stuff to like, consumers. And they just happen to have a giant pocket of just toxic debt. And people are like, yeah, we're making, money. It's like, people are just having easy access to like sketchy loan protocols, and I don't know. I mean, I think we've heard something like that in the past where
Bro, I
people,
mean, they're financing DoorDash now. You can
yeah, yeah,
finance your food,
yeah, paying
so
for some
everything
Jordans. Like, come on,
that's
man.
crazy. That's crazy. It is a crazy time. And at some point, again, with everyone being able to afford less, like I just feel like it's inevitable. Everything,
Yeah.
the pack of gum is going to be 4 payments of 25 cents or whatever
Yeah,
it is. Like,
I
and
think
that's
it's
going
a
to be what
bubble. When I first heard about Klarna in like 21, I thought it was a bubble. I think it's going to be really bad. I think
you
this
want to
is
hear a
where.
story?
Go
I got a
ahead.
story
Yeah,
about it. All right.
let's do it.
I haven't told this on the podcast yet. So this is funny. I, dude, I hope they don't come calling back for it, but I bought a mattress. It was like $5,000
Mhm.
off a website, and I was eligible for interest-free financing. So I took it. Interest-free financing.
Of
I'm going to
course,
take it.
yeah, easy.
Now, this is a long time ago. So hopefully I'm beyond the point of them coming back for it.
Yeah.
This is probably because this is when me and my wife first moved. This is like 7 years ago.
Damn.
So 6 years ago. And it's a firm, not Klarna. So I finance it
Yeah.
interest-free with a firm. I make 2 payments on it. And then one day I'm looking at my bank because, check the bank account every day, look at it. 2 payments refunded. I log into the Affirm. The whole thing is gone. The whole thing of the debt, it's gone.
Yeah.
No letter, no nothing. Just free
Huh.
mattress for Austin. Isn't that interesting? So
I
you talk
Yeah.
about those when that happened, bro, I was like, short this company, bro.
Yep.
Short this company has no idea what's going on. The amount of fraud that must be happening if I'm getting a free mattress like that for 5 grand, 4,000 something. That's stupid, bro. So how are they profitable? Like you said. So there's my
Yep.
my interesting story with a firm.
It just tells you that like values in the market have nothing to do with actual revenue. It's just it's valuation, not like value creation.
There's a clip going around right now on social media, I think about maybe it's the new Social Network movie with Mark Zuckerberg, and they're like, "How much money do you make?" And he says some number, and he's like, "But how much are you worth?" And it's like a gajillion bit, like it's a crazy, and it's like that's the point. It's like they make no money, but they're worth a ungodly amount. There's a term for this, right? Like I don't know if it's the zombie companies or something like that, but where companies are just raising money, but not actually profitable. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day.
I mean,
Interesting
it's
times.
the world of
Interesting
VC, you know,
times.
it's just how the game goes.
Yeah, yeah, and like you said, there's gonna be breaths, so what I think let's bring it back to our ICT
Let's
points
do
because I
it.
think I got some questions I wanna hit about that, but to bring it back correctly, it's like when there is downside volatility, like we saw at the beginning of the year, what was that? March, right? I think February, March, right? When we saw the 20% pullback in ES or whatever it
Yeah.
was, that, opportunity can be massive for people that know how to take advantage.
Yeah.
And I'm on my 11th year almost of trading. And I can say like the grinding at all-time highs trading, the way I scalp right now, the way I trade right now is way different than the way I'll trade when we go downside volatility like
Yep.
that, right? So wouldn't you agree that having multiple trades or multiple strategies that like to be a really good well-rounded trader, you need to not only identify the market conditions but then have the strategies that would work well in that condition, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
you're basically a small business owner when you're running a book, or maybe for you it's just different prop firm accounts, but you have to have different approaches to how you trade things. Whether that's selling like options, for some people that makes sense because you're able to capture short term volatility like that. But
Mhm.
I do believe, yeah, you need to be able to trade a wide variety of setups and ultimately know when that setup's not in play. Because I
Yeah.
will tend to get like that sometimes where I'm like a little too fixated on one way, but that's also why, like, when I'm in my best trading, I don't trade all that much because I understand. When you think about trading, you can make any sort of case for any sort of setup, but the best trades typically don't take a lot of effort or a lot of reps. So, yeah, criteria is a big one. Knowing what condition you're in, it's honestly sometimes as simple as just looking at a daily chart. I could tell you statistically, my worst days to trade are the first day that's inside the previous day. The break is way easier. But this day right here, I will always do bad. So it's like I just
Why?
don't. It just doesn't follow through. I mean, obviously, right? Like it's not leaving the previous candle's range, so there's no real expansion. And a lot of times, I will be anticipating that because it can happen, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it will. If I don't identify it quick, I could get caught in just like I call it like arguing with the market because I tend to be stubborn, and I always tell people, especially anyone I've worked with, they've heard me say this: you can be stubborn or wrong. You can't be both. You cannot be stubborn and wrong. It does not work. You can only be stubborn if you're right. So it's like more often than not, you're better off just like one or two shots. Trading, you can really do a lot of damage by just trying to do too much.
Well, okay, let me deep dive that. You trade different sessions. How do
Mhm.
you have well, what do you have in place to prevent overtrading,
Yeah.
overconfidence, oversizing, all of the overs? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because you're doing a lot. So what advice would you give to the guys that are trying to do it similar to you?
Well, I'll tell you this. When I moved into this new house, my structure got completely derailed. Mainly just because my sleep schedule was so off. Because it was so hot at this house, it'd be like 89 at like 10 p.m. It'd be like
Jeez.
I couldn't sleep. So
Oh, dude, I couldn't sleep.
it's
No,
just
no
not
way.
possible. I'm like, I literally am sweating. So my sleep schedule is a little backwards right now. So I'm just making do with what I can. But the best way you can genuinely avoid over trading is you need to remind yourself early and often of what your goal is. You're like, okay, I like yesterday when I sat down, I'm like, I'm not necessarily interested in taking a ton of trades. I'm only looking to take the break of this prior day high. And as long as it holds, I'm good with that. But I'm not going short. I'm not doing anything else because the setup's so good. I'm inclined to take it. Like I'm expected to take it, even if because I didn't want to necessarily trade yesterday. I was busy editing stuff, but the setup was there, so I'm going to do it. The way you avoid over trading is with that kind of inner dialogue. You need to remind yourself often of what your goal is, because it's very easy to derail yourself if you don't have a system. I remember when I first moved into this house, I had like literally no like system in place. So I didn't really realize like how off my habits were. But I've done so many things that I've never really done. Like I've never really been a big overtrader, and I've overtraded quite a bit since I've moved here, just because I
Hmm.
didn't really have the orientation. And what I tell people is with any sort of compulsive behavior, and that's what overtrading is. For some people, it might be like binge eating. Your brain's essentially trying to correct an internal state with an external stimulus. That's a very big thing with trading because it's not a strategy thing. I know what I look for. I know what I'm trying to trade, and you don't even in those moments think you're not like it's not even about the charts. So that's where it gets real tricky for people. The way you avoid that is you just have to have systems in place. It means, the time you wake up, the time you go to bed, the time you work out. So if you have all of those things dialed in, and that's how I was for years, literally wake up 4 a.m., work out, trade, walk the dogs immediately. I'm done with my day by 11 a.m. for years. I did 75 hard multiple times back to back. Move into here, I physically could not fall asleep until like midnight because it'd be too hot. So the time I wake up is off. That half the house doesn't have like electricity, and thankfully now it's like very pretty much done. Like I have everything's good now. It was just a pretty hard period of time where I should have taken a moment to observe that situation, been like, wait, this is actually extremely stressful for me, and I'm not thinking clearly, and I should adjust from there. Because honestly, if I were to take all like what I described, all those habits that you might have, and just flip them on their head, dude, you're not going to be able to perform. You're not. It doesn't matter who you are. If your structure is out of place, it's just completely different because we don't build our identity on who we are per se. It's what we do and the context around us. Like you have a place for everything. Maybe it's where you like people will go to lunch or whatever, they eat at the same spots. They have a familiarity. Put that person in a completely different town, they don't necessarily, it's not the same. They don't have that same kind of rhythm, if you will. So
Absolutely.
that's what
Yeah,
I
so
say
it's
for
it
people.
requires a lot of self-awareness,
Yeah.
on your half, on behalf of the trader to be like, this is a moment where I'm probably not going to perform my best. I think that's why, like, I had a person that's older than us, older than me and you, asked
Hmm.
me about like getting into trading. And I was going to ask you like your opinion on how to talk to somebody like that. But like when you look at somebody, you can almost know if you know them well enough, you know their career, you know where they're at in life. If they're older, they got a kid, if that person's going to be able to have the focus. Now, I know
Yeah.
this person that I'm speaking about is closer to me. So like I know the person kind of well. And like if that person can't give the focus and they lack the self-awareness that you're describing here in detail, they're
Hmm.
probably not fit for trading. So when you see someone like that, I'm sure now you've had it because you're putting
Hmm.
yourself out on the internet. You see people that are maybe just not cut out for it or don't have the time to commit to it. What do you say? Do you tell them, like, honestly, like the truth of like, I just don't think you got it? Or what kind of advice would you give to someone like that? Do you think it's workable, developable? Is it developable? Is that a word? Developable?
I mean, if it is right now, I'll roll with
It
it.
works. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's. So yes, there are people who are not cut out for trading. It doesn't mean that they can't trade, but there are people who are just gifted at it. I have a friend of mine, he's a really close friend. He's just a completely different personality than me. Same type of person, but he's very calm. He's very collected. I'm not. Believe it or not, I am not calm. My brain goes a million miles an hour all the time. That's just how I am. But that's the thing I admire about others. It's like you see that I have a client like that too. He's brand new. I worked with him for a couple months. I've known him for many years, and he's just traded one account. Like he's like a year in, he's just traded one account. Like never like blew up anything. Like I'm
That's
like,
crazy.
God damn. I'm like, really? That's
That's
crazy.
crazy.
I'm like, I didn't even know that was like. I remember when I was first starting the prop firms, I didn't even realize it was an option to not like blow up. As dumb as it sounds,
Right.
like I didn't even think it was
No,
like,
I
wait, I
know.
could just do that. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was one of those things where there's traders who are
It's
just gifted and they just won't like
gifted.
go. Yeah, they
Some
don't
people
lose.
got it. And I think you have to look at, like, I actually get a lot of people on TikTok tell me that they find the podcast and stuff and shit through the clips on TikTok. And it's like that's where the younger guys are. And I think the younger guys have it easy because if you're
Mhm.
younger, you have probably less responsibilities
Yeah.
and more time to submit to learning. Like if
Mhm.
you were 45 or 50, it just feels like it's going to take, a lot of time to teach that person the same things that I've learned over 10 years. Not saying it's not doable, but it's definitely
You learn stuff.
a later
Yeah,
start.
you learn stuff very quick when you're young, for sure.
Yeah.
You pick it up quickly. It's simple as
Yeah.
that. Everyone always wishes they started sooner, but at the end of the day, honestly, a lot of trading is really just controlling actions.
It
Because
is.
this year I know more than I've ever known, but like last year I traded way better. I made way
Right.
more. Like this year is like not that great,
Interesting.
but like then I get
Wait, say
moments
it
like
again. You said it fast. I think that was a good one-liner. Say it again.
I
Last
said,
year,
yeah, last
I
year.
made more,
hmm I said, yeah,
but
like
I knew less.
yeah, exactly. I knew less. I made more
Yeah.
while knowing less. So it's not knowledge that's going to close the gap to where you want to get. It's really just the application of it. It's not an information problem, honestly. It's it's tricky though. People don't want to justify that. And a lot of the ICT crowd, they will think that's a negative thing. They're like, I'll tell them, don't learn more. You know enough. The problem is you just can't stop pressing the damn button for whatever reason. Where that's
Right.
where I invite people to find purpose outside of their trading. Because if you don't have purpose, and this is when I moved into this new house, I didn't really have like hobbies or any sort of like I didn't have anything to do, if that makes sense. So I was like really like just unbalanced. So it manifested in me just ending up over trading because I didn't have any sort of context to place myself in. I then thought back to, and you had him on the podcast, our trading psychologist friend. He referred to this idea of like, it was very simple. He said, what do you do for fun? And I was like, it was so ridiculously like hard for me to answer that. I was like, wait, what? I was like, what do I do for fun? And I realized, oh shit, okay, that like I don't have that fulfillment outside of trading with some sort of activity. Like I don't golf, I don't do anything really. And by starting to focus on being just the things I like music, I like creating stuff. I've always done like design work. That's been something I've always done. So I'm starting to do more of that, and I'm like, okay, now I have something that it's better to do. Essentially, it's like when they say go touch grass if you're over trading. It's like, or don't you have something better to do? And for me, I didn't until then. I was like, okay, let me go ahead and start focusing on this and that's something that like will really help your trading a lot. It's not knowing more,
I
it's
think
finding balance.
So well said. I think there's like a point where you do enough trading, you learn enough about trading that you have enough experience that it can justify spending more time because you have enough impulse control, enough
Mhm.
self-awareness. But in the initial phases, like especially for me, I would agree with you. Like I should have had more hobbies, less trading, and then just submitting more time to the learning curve, to the part of it where you just have to grind it out every day, take a lesson from every day because no day is the same as another day. They'll be
Yeah.
similar but not the same. So you just have to submit to that more. Like I think for me, I would have like really bought into the time it will take to learn. And I think that would make the journey more enjoyable. But your points are super valid, bro. I want to ask you about the we touched on it for a second, then we skimmed off it. The fair value gap stuff.
Yeah.
I think people often hear fair value gap
Yeah.
and they want to know how to identify high probability fair value gaps. So
Mhm.
can you walk us through what that looks like for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
That's one of my favorite concepts is a fair value gap. So basically
Okay.
what you want to think about is when price moves very quickly through an area, and we have a gap right here. I'll actually just make it a little bigger. It's a pretty good example from the daily chart. I tell people this is how I learned. I was like, okay, what is a fair value gap? I go to the daily chart and I start identifying them. And all I do is just whatever you want to start. We can start right here. Typically, you're going to use three candles, so it's going to be a big candle with no overlap, and then use the previous candle high, and then next candle low. This one has a little bit of a overnight gap, an opening gap, which is whatever. You could technically draw it down to down to there or whatever, but I'm just going to leave it like this. This tells me that there was obviously a lot of movement in a short amount of time, indicating to me a trend. That's what a broad candle is. It's a trend. So when you have a trending condition and it pulls back into it, what do you think is going to happen? It's not necessarily rocket science, but what it is just a way to structure risk. So what I would do personally, whether it's an intraday chart or a daily chart, when you have something like this on the daily, I just wait for it to get to this area and look for some sort of reaction. And that's the real game right there. Cause you could go like, you see this candle right here. I would do something like maybe back to the previous candle close, like right here. Like you would basically, you could look at something like that. So any sort of structure up here, obviously.
Why wouldn't you go to the previous high? Yeah, why wouldn't you
Yeah,
go
you
higher?
could go here. It just depends on the time that you're looking at. So like if I'm looking at like an intraday trade, I'm looking for this reaction to hold, and then I'm looking just to trade back into this area. So maybe I look.
Sure.
It's just because it's not going to necessarily move and flip like 600 points in one day. So you just look for some
Right.
sort of bounce like that. That's the best way to use a daily gap. Intraday, it's really just the best ones are really going to be around the open. So maybe it's the first 30 minutes. I think today had a really good example from what I saw. I think Ace
I was
posted.
going to say, can we do this on a lower time frame too to
Yeah,
show everybody?
I think Ace posted this chart. So what? This is a good
That
example
guy
of
don't miss, bro. Jesus Christ.
never.
He's on a streak. I'm trying to
Yeah,
get him to come on the podcast. He told me he's redoing his office. I was like,
dude. Yeah, it's
no one cares. Just no one cares about your backdrop. I promise. I
yeah,
thought they did. I bought the bookshelves. Doesn't work. Doesn't get more views.
yeah. Yeah, it's. I mean, I feel him
All
on
right, sorry, I'm
that. No,
distracting
you're
you.
good.
How did you draw that? How did you draw that? Because everyone's
So
going to see this and be like, "What did he just do there?"
look at this. So this is a great example of like this is a bad fair value gap to short because you have some consolidation, you have a push higher, whatever, and then you just see four broad candles just kind of puke into the open before the open. Like these are just massive, just like running. You're like, oh, let me short, right? Obviously,
Mhm.
that's like the natural inclination. But why is it doing that? Like, really, what happened? We're like overall, big picture, it's still pretty bullish up here at this point. We're in this area right here. Yeah, maybe it's
Mhm.
swept out this high. To me, when it's right before the open like that, that's a very, 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 it's a big red flag. As simple as that. So what I would like to do is typically not try to short something like this because I don't see a clear manipulation. I don't see anything like up here where it's like just you could tell someone got just blown out of the water. To me, it's just kind of drifts lower. So this would be technically the manipulation for it to then run higher, right? Like that's how I see it. So unless there's number one, some sort of like sweep, I don't think it's going to continue. This to me, it seems very easy to fail because number one, all it did was just push down and it kind of ran into these previous lows if you look at it like that. Like so
Mhm.
that's kind of what's going on. When you're trading, especially the index, it's a mean reversion product. Simple as that. I mean, that's you learn that by just looking at the market. It zigs and zags. That's pretty much my understanding of how price moves. It goes up, it goes down. Never really in a straight line too much. So when it does something like this, you can expect those kind of breakouts to fail. Because when you first started trading, I think everybody tried shorting this candle right here. I know I did, and I just get stopped out over and over. It's because that
Yep.
don't work. So this is a good example of what you want to do. Fair value gaps.
Is that?
Oh, sorry for the
I'm sorry.
inversion. Yeah, this is what you'd want to do for the
Yeah,
inversion. So
for the inversion, right?
that's a better way to look at it. So if a fair value gap is very likely to fail, that means it's potentially likely to invert. That's the whole idea. So don't ever try to, like there's just a lot of fair value gaps that just don't make sense to short or go along with. This is one that's pretty easy, especially when you see all this action. Literally, just try to like trade it above the break, right here.
Right.
Don't even
Would
bother
the
with this.
would the push above 24.9, would all of that action consider a sweep on the highs before now it's moving lower?
Yeah, I
Like
mean,
the entire breakout there, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Above
yeah,
24,900.
yep.
It's up there for like an hour. Is that
Hmm.
long? So you can't really consider it a sweep, but like on a higher time frame, it
It
looks like a
is.
pin.
Yeah, exactly. That's a
Yeah.
perfect
Yeah.
way to put it. So something like this is where you get into the whole idea of like market maker buy models, market maker sell models, where it basically tops out, right? This is your Wyckoff distribution phase. So what you'd want to see is you wouldn't necessarily want to try to do too much in the range. See if I can just get this box up here, like it's magnet off. Yeah, you wouldn't want to do too much in the range. You'd want to look for like
Right.
the break under that little creek, right? Like that's what they call it in Wyckoff. It's basically like that little kiss of death. It pushes lower, it gives you the market structure shift right here. So if you're trading this, the worst way to do it is really do anything up here because where do we have to reach for? Like in my mind, we're going for 25K maybe, but I'm not
Right.
positioning up here. I'm positioning either,
No.
like I said, this setup for me was yesterday's the prior day high. So that happened right at the market open on Sunday. I'm not doing anything up here. I'm just managing if I'm still in it. So this type of trade
Why
right
wouldn't
here, yeah, go ahead.
why wouldn't you throw a VWAP on 930 and try to do something with a VWAP? If
Let's
you're saying
see.
you're not doing anything up there, then why not throw a VWAP on and find a VWAP trade? Because everyone's
Yeah,
thinking,
you
hey, you
absolutely
started the
can.
podcast talking about different plays.
Yeah. So
Why
look,
wouldn't
and
you
then here's
sell the VWAP break at 1130? Right.
mm,
There's your bounce
yeah, so you could trade it on the
rejection.
flip.
Yep.
So you could do either the long right here where we talked about initially. Let's make this a little easier for everyone to see. Yeah, so this is a good example right here. You could trade it back down here. For me, I notice I don't really like the like 11 a.m. time. I just don't really like the later afternoon. It doesn't really work too well
That's
for
the
me.
ICT in you.
I
No, I mean, it does. It's true. It slows down at that time too.
just that and trading options too. Like I know my best setups are going to be either number one, they're going to be right at around the open first 30 minutes. And if not, the other time that does work really well is something like yesterday. And it's not necessarily because the time matters. It's because it's not volatile. So I'm able to get a lot of size in it. You know, like I made 8 grand on a trade. I had 30 micros on it. It's kind of hard to get position 30 micros with, mind you, my initial risk was like 250 bucks, 300 bucks. Like I did not risk a lot yesterday. That's what I mean. When good trades happen, you don't have to force it. It's not a
How
matter
do you determine when you should trade heavier or smaller?
something like yesterday. I mean, I just had a lot of opportunity to add in, and it was like very low cost. Like I had my initial size, and all the pullbacks were like pretty deep, so I was able to add in, and it barely messed with my average. So
You
it's
want to
like,
walk us through the trade
yeah,
before
yeah,
we finish?
yeah, I got you.
Let's do that. That'll be our last one.
So basically, make it real simple for you guys right here. It's going to be a break of prior day high. And I just positioned around this black line. So we're going to go here and I can pretty much do it on the 5 minute because I did manage a lot of it on the 5 minute. Let's see where we at. So we get right here. This is a good example. So I had a lot of context on this trade based on how the previous session closed. I was extremely dumbfounded at how we did not run these highs during that session. I was like, we're just going to push it. Like it's 20 points. I did,
Nope.
yeah. Like, you know, people try to film their crash outs and post on Instagram because it's funny. I'm like, dude, you should have heard me on this one because, like, oh my God, it didn't go. That brings me into the next day. So there's a lot of frustration there. I already know that it's in the chart. That's priced in right here. I'm just looking for a move above it. So I'm able to see that, you know, we have this little opening right here. It formed this little doji, but basically right here is where I positioned. So I got in here, added here, all of this consolidation. I'll make it way bigger for you. So you have
And this
all,
is like right at market open. This is 30 minutes into the open.
yeah, yeah. So I'm looking at the 5 minute here. You hit first 30 minutes, 40 minutes, I'm really getting positioned. I had one initial trade. I got it out here. Then I added a lot into this fair value gap. Why was this a good fair value gap? Because it has a daily level. It's really, really, really clear to me. This is the prior day high. It was a hammer inside day break. It's a simple setup, pull back into like the 21 moving average, and you have VWAP. There's a lot working for it. So to me, it's
What's a
like,
stop go? Where's a stop go on something like this?
so I think on so I had an initial position right here, right at 730.
Yeah.
My stop's literally
Yeah.
just below the low. I think I get trailed out initially here. Maybe I sold it right here, but then I re-added because I was like, actually, I kind of messed that one up. So let me try this again. I added here a little bit, and then right here I really added into the position. So my stop on the second trade is probably 739. It's just like right below the structure, and then I trail it to basically below 747. It's right below
Okay.
that fair value gap candle.
Tight stops, tight trails.
Yeah, and as it goes up, and I'm like throwing like, you know, like single lots, just getting out some micros on the highs, and then as it consolidates, I really just use the time to build into the position. I'm trading at this time the top one account and the top step 150K on both, and I'm trying to obviously keep my consistency rule for the top one, so I don't need to add as much size, and I just let that ride out, and I think I take that out into 792 for like 1800 bucks, something like that. And this is where it really gets interesting because yes, I'm scaling out on the top step account, but I didn't take everything off because I was like, unless this fails below the daily level, I think it's good. And we get this massive puke right here, like massive puke. So I was up 900 bucks secured on the top step, pulls back like crazy. My stop was technically at like 778 on the trail. And I said, I have to actually give this a little room. I have to try it. So I moved it down to pretty much like 770. So I would have lost 600 of unrealized profit if it did stop me. But instead, I just added. So before I was taking some off, but then I went full size basically on this candle.
Conviction.
I went full size on it. Yeah. And I said, you know what? If it stops me, whatever. And then I rode it all the way
You
until
sleeping on it?
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just again, my sleep schedule is all backwards. I
Right.
want to go to bed, but I'm watching it, so I'm not
Okay.
stressing over it though. Like I'm outside, I'm doing stuff in like the garden or whatever,
Mhm.
eating dinner, and then I basically take it off into. It was one of these like it was like a pump fake. Where'd it go? It was maybe this one. I think it was like right here. Yeah,
I mean,
five.
that's a hell of a trade, bro.
It
That's
works really great.
amazing.
So I think overall, I think I was up almost 10 grand on it, and then I
You
sold
know
it
what
for
I
8
take
grand.
out of it?
Yeah, what's up?
The VWAP, dude. Don't
Yeah,
fight the VWAP.
it's
Trade on the
amazing,
right
dude.
side of
I'm
the
telling you.
VWAP, and it works, bro. It's an amazing indicator.
VWAP is so good, especially, and this is something I learned from someone a long time ago. It's like, especially when it's likely to be a trend. This is likely to trend for me based on the scenario.
Because
The
of the break above the daily level.
Yeah, it's unless it goes back under the daily level, there is 0%
Your
chance I'm
bias
shorting.
line is clear. You
Yeah,
know when
this
you
is
wanna be
one
long
where
and
I'm
when you wanna be
absolutely
short.
certain I'm biased. Like I will absolutely
Right,
be dead wrong. I won't change my mind. I won't
right.
short. I won't do anything. I will go long. And if it doesn't work, I'm done. I don't even care to
It's
try
good.
this again. Other than
You
like
know, you
just,
said
yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. No, finish what you're gonna say.
Yeah,
Sorry.
other than just like actually repositioning, because I was like, wait, this is I see it a little more clearly. Sometimes with the earlier trades, it's better to get a little momentum out. I think I made
Mhm.
300 on the first push, and then the rest is where, and this is how it ended up becoming a $10,000 day just from that repositioning. Um,
Yep.
the best examples of pullbacks in Asia are really aggressive. Like this is such an optimal pullback. Again, when you mention VWAP, I'm absolutely looking at VWAP when that's happening. I might not have a lot on my charts, but I do take stuff off and on. I don't like having a lot. So, but I'm not clueless to things. I see it looking at all the different time frames and stuff. Very, very, very clean setup. Um, and yeah, honestly, it's one of those things where like, yeah, if you guys are going through like a tough time with trading, like you hear me talk about it hasn't been great for me. But all it takes is really just one good trade to change your mind. Like you just change your perspective. Whether it's not that you need it or whatever, it just happens, right? Like that stuff comes around when it does. Um, and every win streak starts with one trade. Every lose streak starts with one trade. So it's like just go one trade at a time and don't get too caught up in like where things are going. I did think this might have been a bigger move, but I'm absolutely pretty happy with what this was.
You know, people I I think, people will hear 10K in a day,
Yeah.
and they'll be like, "Okay." I mean, that would be amazing. For most
Yeah.
people, they would be like, "I'll quit my job if you can teach me how to do that." What do you say is the if there was a key to maximizing a move like this and making the 10 grand overnight, what would you say that key is? Is it identifying VWAP? Is it an ICT concept? What is the key for this trade?
Daily setup on this one. I mean, VWAP is important, but if there's no daily setup, I'm getting run over on this thing. There's very so you have to understand things like this are not common when they do happen. Like they don't happen all the time. But I've caught probably two or three of these this year, not 10 grand overnight, but I've caught like these overnight trends a couple times. You just have to know when they're coming around. And how do I
Let me
stay in
make
the
a
trade?
I
5 minute
was gonna
chart.
say, let me
Yeah,
make a sports betting analogy.
yeah,
Jalen Hurts, the tush push. He's gonna score a touchdown every time they get to the 1 yard line. This is your tush push. This
very
is your
simply,
when
yeah.
it shows up, I'm running the play. Whether you like it or not, I'm running the play. You can want to ban me, you ban the tush push, doesn't matter. They're running the tush push. You're running, this is your 4th and 1. This is like, I know what I'm doing here. We win it majority of the time, so let's go. So
Yeah,
then last question on this trade. How do you know when to size up on it? How is it just
yeah.
feel?
Yeah, I had
Or
someone
what do
ask
you
me
have a
yesterday.
system?
They're like, "How'd you know to have so much size in this?" And it's like it really is feel because I'm not like trying to size up. Like this was a very low effort trade. I wasn't worried about it. I felt very confident in it, and that's
Yeah.
just like those are the types of plays you just got to send it on. Any seasoned trader, they tell you when you see your type of setup, you have to swing hard. And obviously, who doesn't wish this happens right at the New York Open? I don't necessarily want it to happen when it did, but it's there, and I'm not going to argue with it because I've missed it enough times to be like, oh, actually, when it's at the level, it's going to do the thing more often than not, especially this setup.
Right.
It was just very, very
Right.
ripe. So yeah, when you see good trades, you swing at them. But yeah, it's nothing to like, you guys had to remember too. It's you make 10 grand. It's across a couple accounts. I have 8 grand in one Top Step account. What's your rule for Top Step? You have to have 5 days. So if you have a day like this, it doesn't mean you can just like full port, do all kinds of crazy stuff with
Of
it.
course.
You have to get to the finish line. So it's like, cool. You get a win and then you stack the days, you pull out your 5K max payout, and then you do the same thing. And then with top one, it's like I have to stack my trades within the consistency rule. So just know the game you're playing. I'm not making more than 1,800 on my 150K Top Step just so I can get to the consistency rule to be at where it needs to be. that's just how you have to play it. Because otherwise, if you start doing too much, you actually make it harder. And it doesn't even matter how much money you make, because let's just say, yeah, like I make 8 grand on this day. And then I'm like, well, let me make 4 grand, and just like, who cares? I'm just going to make $150, kick the can, get to the finish line, get to 10K on the balance, pull out 5K, and then
Spoken
start
like a
over.
real experienced trader that's been
I
kicking the
do.
balls a couple
Yeah,
times,
yeah.
bro.
I'm telling you, you guys, this year has been one of those years where I didn't think I could like just fumble as hard as I could. Like I thought it was past that. So don't ever think you're like immune. I had a friend tell me, he says, it doesn't matter at what point you get to in trading, you can always lose it all. I'm like, what do you mean? This was like day one. And many years later, I'm like, I get it. Like you can absolutely just fuck up.
Yeah, because we're all the same. You can all give into the same. Yeah,
Yep.
it's just the people that choose to have the self awareness and the focus. Those are always the two things.
Yeah.
Someone on the podcast once said self regulation, like regulating your emotions. It's those that
Yeah.
can do that the best, that then control the impulses and
Yeah.
keep their accounts and don't churn and burn. You know what I'm saying? Some of us, it just takes a couple years of experience to get to
Yeah,
that point.
yeah, and some people just
But
learn the hard way, and I mean, sometimes you have
that's
to
it.
learn it again. Sometimes you're like, yeah, I guess I don't remember.
That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
That's it. Christian, this has been amazing. You are
yeah. Thank you,
sharp,
man.
bro. I knew the first time we chatted you were sharp. I'm looking forward to seeing you. What are we doing next week, right? 2 weeks
Yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
booking
It's
in
coming
LA.
up real quick. Yeah, I'm
It's
excited for
coming
that.
up. It'll be good.
Yeah, no, thank you for
Where
having me on.
can Oh, dude, of course, anytime. Where can we send everybody to check you out?
Yeah,
What do you want to do?
decipher
Discord, social?
decipher the algo on everything, YouTube, Instagram. I'm doing a lot of pretty cool stuff on Instagram, trying to integrate more of my interests and creativity into my content, which I think a lot of people are actually resonating with, which is good because it's actually made me enjoy it. I'm not very big on
Good.
like, I don't want to sit
Right.
here and be like, according to I don't, that's just not me. I like making cool stuff, and I think people like that stuff better.
I agree. Your shit's always on point, bro. It's always
Thank you.
creative too. So you got it, bro. For sure. For sure. I love it. All right, buddy. I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Thank you for the
Yeah.
time as always. Listeners, thanks for staying all the way through. Make sure you're subscribed. We'll see you next Saturday.